What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Pinnacle Title YouTube channel. My name is Tyler. Thank you guys so much for all the support on the prior videos. And then thanks to everyone who reached out to me directly with all of your guys' questions. I seriously appreciate it so much. It's fun to kind of go back and forth with you guys on these real estate questions. And hopefully I'm helping you guys out, and hopefully I can kind of continue to help you out and give you guys little bits of knowledge in some of these upcoming videos, okay? So with this video, we're going to talk specifically about investing in real estate. I felt like I can talk about a whole bunch of different things on this, but the two main topics I'm going to talk about is going to be hard money and wholesaling. Those kind of are some common questions I've been getting, so I wanted to do a video on it. Okay, let's get right into it. So hard money is just private money, and private money is just money from an individual instead of an institution. Okay, it's the easiest way to explain it. So it can be money from a parent, a friend, somebody that just has cash on hand that's willing to lend that money to you. That's all hard money is. That's all private money is. Private money or hard money can be any terms that are agreed on between a buyer and a lender. So it could be high interest rate with points up front. It could be low interest rate with no points. It just kind of depends on whatever the situation is. So for example, what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis with the investors that we're working with, usually on average, I see that they'll charge anywhere from about 3 to 5 points up front with about a 12 to 15% interest rate. That's pretty standard. So they're going to charge their points. Points are a percentage of whatever the loan amount is. Okay, so if the loan amount is $300,000, 1 point is 1% of 300,000, which is 3,000. 2 points is 6,000. 3 points is 9,000, right? So that's what they will charge you up front to get the money. And then they're going to charge you anywhere from that 12 to 15% on the money for the term that you have that money, for the term of the loan. So if you have the loan for 3 months, they're going to charge you 12% interest on the $300,000 for the 3 months. And that's amortized on 365 days. If you have more questions on that, we can talk about it. But that's how the interest works on these hard money loans, okay? If you're somebody that wants to do hard money and you have money on hand and you want to lend it, let me know. It's an awesome way to go. I can kind of walk you guys through the details on what we're doing with these hard money lenders on a day-to-day basis. So it is a great option. If you're somebody that is wanting to get hard money, for example, flippers are very common. I'm going to talk about the wholesaling side of things, but hard money, again, it's just private money, and you're getting that money from an individual to do something within real estate. Now, another example of where private money or hard money comes into play, let's rewind about 3 to 4 years ago when the market was crazy. If you were somebody that was out trying to buy a property, I'm guessing that you were getting outbid by a whole bunch of people that were offering cash, right? Now, those people could be someone that sold their house in California and came back and they have all this money and they're like, yeah, we'll just buy this property in cash and we're willing to pay over the sales price, whatever it may be. That's true. There are a handful of those people, but there's also a handful of people that are just using hard money or private money and they are calling it cash. So say I go to a seller and I'm going to offer them cash. They say, okay, that sounds good. We'll take your cash deal because your cash deal, we can close sooner. Maybe you can offer a little bit more money. So what we were seeing a couple years ago is you would have these people that would come in, they would go to these sellers and say, hey, we'll make an offer to you. It's going to be a cash deal. We'll close in a week or 2 weeks or whatever you want to do. Seller goes, okay, sounds good. We want to take the cash deal, right? Well, then that buyer would go to their hard money lender or whoever has the money and they say, hey, I just need this money for this purchase. They would buy the property with the hard money, consider it cash. After they buy the property, then they go and they get that long-term loan with whoever that institution was that originally they could have bought the property for, but they were able to make a stronger, more competitive offer because it was cash, right? So you make that strong offer, you buy the property using the hard money, you turn around, you get the long-term loan with the institution, and you're set. So we were seeing a lot of that, 3 to 4 years ago when the market was crazy competitive. It's a great way to get into a property. So when the market gets competitive again, that's a great thing to kind of remember, and it's a good tool to use to possibly get into a property that maybe you wouldn't be able to just going through a conventional lender. So that is hard money. That's private money. If you guys have further questions on that, let me know. Now, with the wholesaling, hard money kind of ties in with the wholesaling. There's 2 ways you can kind of wholesale. Okay, so the first example is pretty clear. I'm going to buy a property. We'll say I buy it for $300,000. I buy it. I believe that property is worth more money. Maybe it needs to be cleaned up. Doesn't need to necessarily be flipped with a whole bunch of things done to it, but maybe I just can clean the property up a little bit. I buy it for $300,000. I turn around, maybe I can sell it for $325,000, $350,000. So wholesaling, I'm just trying to find a piece of property. I'm buying a piece of property and then reselling it at a higher value without really doing anything to the property. So that's one way of wholesaling. Another way of wholesaling is called a signing. Now a signing, we're going to take a seller who wants to sell that property for $300,000 and I'm the buyer. I'm going to go in, I'm going to make a contract with that seller for the $300,000, okay? Well, I know that that property is probably worth a little bit more money than $300,000. So I make the contract for $300,000. In my contract, I state I am buying it for $300,000, but I also can assign this contract to a new buyer. So the seller knows I can assign it to a new buyer, and the seller understands, hey, if I find a new buyer, I can possibly make a profit on this property. They understand all of this. So I go in as a buyer, I make this contract for $300,000, and then I find this other buyer that wants to come in and says, hey, I'm willing to pay $325,000 for that property. I go, okay, sounds good. So I make a contract with them. That new buyer comes in and buys the property for the $300,000, but they pay me an additional $25,000 because that was my fee to sell them this property. They're gonna pay that $25,000 to me. Okay, so now I make the $25,000 difference. That new buyer buys the property from the seller, and we're on to the next deal. So that's how assigning works. That's another way to wholesale. Now, you have to make sure that your contracts are set up correctly. You have to make sure that everything is spelled out and is very clear. That's very, very important so you're not getting into any trouble on the real estate side of things, okay? Now, with that being said, the one caveat I kind of wanted to talk about before we end this video. Understand, all of this money that you're making in real estate, you're going to also pay taxes on, of course, right? So just make sure that you understand, hey, if I make that $25,000 wholesaling this property, understand you're gonna pay taxes on it at the end of the year. So just make sure you're talking to your tax professional and you are accounting for that money at the end of the year. So you're not like, hey, I spent the $25,000 and now I don't have any money to pay whatever the amount is that I'm paying taxes on. Okay, so that's one thing to just remember. Any of the money you're making within real estate, you're gonna pay some taxes on it at the end of the year, so just plan on that. All right. Now, with that being said, those were kind of the things I wanted to talk about in this video. If there are additional questions on any of those topics, if there's something I didn't talk about, you guys have further questions on, let me know. I'm seriously so happy to talk to you guys. It's fun to go back and forth with you guys on this. I seriously enjoy it. No cost. I just want to help out. Just kind of take the knowledge that I've learned, hopefully pass it on to you guys and help you out in the next transaction. So until the next video, thanks again. I appreciate you guys and we'll see you later. Bye.